Okay. Good evening. And welcome to everyone who's joining us on the internet. The SANE curriculum. Well, before we start reading about the SANE curriculum, let's refresh ourselves about what the insane curriculum is. The insane curriculum is the ego's curriculum, which, as we found last week, is summed up in the words, seek and do not find. Seek and do not find by looking for what you're looking for where it can't be found. And although that does mean that if you're looking for love from someone who is so self-centered and preoccupied with him or herself that he or she is incapable of responding for love, the real meaning of looking for love where it cannot be found is if you're looking for it in your own separated sense of being, your own independent sense of self. If you are looking for it in a state of isolation and aloneness because you have divorced yourself from your source, you are looking where it can't be found. It can't be found in your very own isolation from the wholeness of existence, the wholeness of being. The only place you can look for love is from your union with your source. The only place you can look for love is not out there somewhere, but from the place of excellence in you, your right mind. When you are not looking from the unity of your being, of your essential consciousness, when you're looking for love, not from the excellence of you, you will not be able to find it. Now, the SANE curriculum. Only love is strong because it is undivided. It isn't that it's strong because it has a lot of power. It's strong because it's not fragmented. It's strong because in its singularity, in its indivisibility, there is the conscious experience of invulnerability. In the absence of chaos, there is peace. Why? Because peace is the fundamental nature of being. It is what is real. And when you have no other preference on your mind, no other preferred way of looking at reality, and you are introducing nothing extraneous to it, your mind is at peace, and your mind is singular, and the experience of invulnerability is patently obvious to you. It is strong because in its presence there is no opposite to exercise itself upon. Only love is strong because it is undivided. The strong do not attack because they see no need to do so. Before the idea of attack can enter your mind, you must have perceived yourself as weak. Happens to you every day. When you are aroused to attack, or another way of putting it is, when you are aroused to defend yourself, when you are aroused to take control, it is because you are feeling vulnerable. Vulnerable to an assertive friend, vulnerable to an angry employer, vulnerable to an assertion of will that puts you at a disadvantage that you believe is real. When you feel weak, is it your first spontaneous response to say, I better get back in my peace. I better get back in my right mind as quickly as I can, so that I can respond to what is going on intelligently without bringing up my habitual use of force. No. When you feel confronted, you slip back into your habit of doing whatever it takes to get control of the situation again so that you will not feel vulnerable. It's important to understand this. Your habit of exercising control is connected to your feeling of weakness, which you inevitably feel because you have gotten a divorce from your father. You've said, I want to see things my way. I want to give the definitions. I want to give the meaning. That arena of being is one in which you are weak because, as we've discussed in the last couple of weeks, your birthright box is empty. You do not feel your birthright. Existence itself is an ever-present statement of your weakness, which is, of course, the challenge you've taken on to rise above. And, of course, the attempt to achieve the equivalent of a birthright is one of the processes of seeking and not finding. Before the idea of attack can enter your mind, you must have perceived yourself as weak. Because you had attacked yourself and believed that the attack was effective, you behold yourself as weakened. Again, because you had attacked yourself by deciding to get a divorce from your source. And you believed that you actually accomplished it, you behold yourself as weakened. No longer perceiving yourself and all your brothers as equal, and regarding yourself as weaker, you attempt to equalize the situation you have made. You use attack to do so, because you believe that attack was successful in weakening you. Some time back we were talking about the fact that you are neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. You are at that point and must understand yourself therefrom. Now I want to point out something about the ego. It does the same thing. You, the ego, you, when you're not experiencing your union with the Father, create a definition of yourself. You say, I, on my own, am worthwhile. I have substance. I have character. I have strength. And if I develop a collection of ideas that reflect excellent logic, so that the truth of the collection of ideas stands clearly forth as reasonable, I can demonstrate the fact that I have integrity all by myself. You claim something ultimate about yourself, and you let that be the bottom line of everything else that comes forth from you. And then you proceed to nudge, coerce, browbeat, and enforce your brothers and sisters in whatever way you can to arrive at agreement with you. The ego starts with a concept of integrity. And then lets all further actions embody that in the attempt to make it so when it isn't so. I'm bringing this out because if you can begin to see that when I have said you are neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it, that you're at that point and must understand yourself therefrom, this is nothing really foreign to you. You're already employing it, we'll say, in the negative. You're already employing it within the domain of seek and do not find. Now, you know what? When you behave on this basis, you have gotten into righteousness. Self-righteousness. You claim righteousness for yourself, and then you force your brothers to agree with you in order to make it so when it isn't so all by yourself. Righteousness, because it is ego-satisfying, is what hooks you when you are attacked or when you perceive attack or you experience strong confrontation from a brother. Righteousness is what causes you to say, I can handle this. I don't need to go outside myself. I don't have to join with something else. In my state of independence, I can handle it. And so, out of spontaneous habit, you respond with attack. You respond with an expression of force, with an expression of coercion. You become confrontational so as to bring about equalization between you and the apparent source of the confrontation. This is why, even as we are talking about the need to break the isolation, you find yourselves during the day, when stress occurs, immediately resorting to, quote, what has worked for you before, or what you have confidence has worked for you before, and so you slip right back into being offended and retaliating through the use of force that you bring up from the bottom of the puniness of you, instead of doing what will work. Understand that this is the dynamic so that you might recognize it and not be caught off guard quite so easily, or recover when you've been caught off guard more easily. So that you might say, oh, there I am, choosing to work within the fundamental insane curriculum of seeking and not finding. You use attack to do so, to equalize the situation, because you believe that attack was successful in weakening you. That is why the recognition of your own invulnerability is so important in the restoration of your sanity. That's why it's so important to remember that you're neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. For if you accept your invulnerability, you are recognizing that attack has no effect. If you are really divine, and you have never lost your divine status, and your birthright is still there in your birthright box, so to speak, then any attempt to see things in a confused way has not succeeded in changing you from what you are right at this moment. It has had no effect on you, and attack that you feel like employing against your brother can have no effect, and the confrontation from your brother can have had no effect, because neither you nor your brother are who you have imagined yourself to be, and you, in your present, unalterable perfection, stand with each other in the truth of what you are. Continuing, although you have attacked yourself, and very brutally, you will demonstrate that nothing happened. Of course, when you're offended, when you're blown away by someone else's aggressive confrontation or expressed unkindness toward you, you think that something has happened. And it is an ignorant perception. That's not the truth, but you believe it. It's just absolutely essential for you, in the process of your waking up, to constantly remind yourselves during your everyday activities that you have never stopped being what God is being right there where you are, and your brother has never stopped being what God is being right there where he is. And desire to have the experience of that rather than the experience you are having by virtue of looking at what's happening through your sense of your own orphanhood, which is not true either. Although you have attacked yourself, and very brutally, you will demonstrate that nothing happened. Therefore, by attacking, you have not done anything. Once you realize this, there is no longer any sense in attack, for it manifestly does not work. When you're in the thick of it, it's very difficult to shift gears. It's very difficult to let another perception in because you're so gosh darned convinced that you really are under threat and that someone else is responsible for it. And you must remind yourselves that the threat you're seeing, the feeling of vulnerability you're having, is not because of what your brother is doing, but the fact that you are looking at it and experiencing it without the calm perspective that your birthright, embraced and embodied by you, would reveal to you. Then you might still see your brother acting as though he doesn't know who he is, where a shift of perception is needed for him, but you will not see it as threatening to you. You will not see it as something that in any way would call for defense or return attack. Once you realize this, there is no longer any sense in attack, for it manifestly does not work and cannot protect you. Why can't it protect you? Because no protection is called for. You are invulnerable. What is happening is not threatening to your very being. Yet, the recognition of your invulnerability has more than negative value. In other words, it does more than show you that attack never worked and that attack never has caused anything. If your attacks on yourself have failed to weaken you, what? You are still strong. If your abandonment of your birthright has not caused you to become less than what you truly divinely are, less than what God is being right there where you are, then you're not the poor little pissant mortal that you every day believe you are in one way or another. In other words, you are not the weak one, needing to become strong enough to equalize the situation. You are still at the point of perfection. The ultimate is the only thing happening right here, right now, and it is being you in ultimacy, in all that can ultimately find expression and experience right there where you are. You've got to remember, you're not working your way back up the ladder. If your attacks on yourself have failed to weaken you, you are still strong. So there's a positive value in it. You therefore have no need to equalize the situation to establish your strength. You will never realize the utter uselessness of attack except by recognizing that your attack on yourself had no effects. So you see, before you start straightening out your brother, you've got to get your own head on straight. And you've got to find out what you did and didn't do. What you thought you did but didn't actually accomplish. You've got to come to a point where you're willing to consider yourself as absolutely divine right now, unaltered from what God is being right there where you are. And you have to let your sense of yourself be replaced by an infilling awareness of the wholeness of you that will happen spontaneously when you are willing to let go of the idea that you can handle things yourself. And that your self-righteousness is one of the biggest traps that faces you at any time during your day. And that your valuing of it and your reinforcing of it does nothing but keep you blinded to the already perfection, the already existing perfection of you. This is the only way shifts of perception are going to begin to be experienced by you. Because you bring a conscientious choice to bear upon the way you relate to your world, where you are choosing to come from as you observe everything that is going on. You have to start with yourself. You will never realize the utter uselessness of attack except by recognizing that your attack on yourself had no effects. Why? For others do react to attack if they perceive it. And if you're trying to attack them, you will be unable to avoid interpreting this, their reaction to your attack, as reinforcement. Reinforcement of what? Reinforcement of the idea that taking control through the use of force, through the sheer use of will, is valuable and does accomplish something. Does accomplish something while you are still a dedicated orphan. You see? The only place where you can cancel out all reinforcement is in yourself. For you are always the first point of your attack. Like a pilot of a plane once said to a potential passenger who was afraid of crashing, "Don't worry. The pilot is always the first one at the scene of the accident." The only place where you can cancel out all reinforcement is in yourself, for you are always the first point of your attack. Whatever mess occurs, you're the first one to arrive in the mess. For you are always the first point of your attack, and if this has never been, it has no consequences. The Holy Spirit's love is your strength. Why? Because it's singular. And it is you in your right mind experiencing the truth. And so there is no confusion in you when you let that register with you, which won't happen until you abandon your so-called right to be an independent agent for change, an independent creator